Hello everyone. Today we are going to be working with the quadratic formula for a second day, and we're going to be doing some problem solving. There are lots of real life formulas. For those of you that always say, when am I going to use this? I don't know if you will, but there are many real life formulas that involve quadratics. The two we're going to be talking about today is if you have an object and it is dropped or it is thrown, a way to find out how long it will take to land in a certain location. So again, there are two different formulas we're going to be working with. One is if an object is dropped, and one is if an object is thrown. And again, there are different formulas that you will see, but these are the two that we're going to talk about today. The only difference between the two is that one has this middle term, which is about the velocity. So V is velocity. It is similar to speed, but it is not speed. It's a speed, but it includes the direction. So just like if you are driving backwards, your speed would still be positive, but the velocity would be negative, okay? H and S, it's really important that you understand that H is the height that you end with, where S is the height that you begin with, or the initial height. So for example, if you are throwing something 30 feet, like you start at a level of 30 feet, like you're on a second story roof and you throw it, your initial height would be 30. If you're wanting to know when it would land, your H would be 0. Okay? So H is the height that you end with, S is what you begin or where you begin, and T is time in seconds. I want to remind us of the quadratic formula. You can solve these problems different ways. They might work out that they could be factored, but for today's purposes, we're going to assume that we need to use that quadratic formula. So X, my solutions, will equal the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All right, let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at the word problem. A rock is thrown, so that's really important because we now are going to be using that formula because it is thrown from a hot air balloon that is 400 feet up. That's where we begin. So we know that our S is going to be 4,000. When the rock is released, its speed is 30 feet. So speed is like similar to velocity, but is it going up or is it going down? When it's released, its speed is 30 feet per second. It is thrown. The key word here is up. It was thrown up, which sounds really funny, but it is the speed is going up, so the velocity is going to be a positive number. If it was thrown down, then it would be a negative number. So right now we have, if we are looking for our H and our S and our T and our V. H, we want to know when it hits the water. So when it gets to the end, so that's going to be 0. Okay, our S, this is where we begin. That's 4,000 feet. Our T, that's what we're wanting to know. So this is our unknown. And our V, like I said, it was being thrown upwards. So it is going to be, holy cow, it is going to be a positive 30. So now let's go to our formula that we were given. So h equals negative 16t squared plus vt plus s, and plug in our numbers. Our h is going to be 0. Negative 16t is our unknown, so we're going to leave it t. Our v is 30, and our s is 4,000. From here, we can use the quadratic formula, and so we need to pull out our a, b, and c. So our a is negative 16. Our b is 30. So here's our a, here's our b, and our c is 4,000. So again, here's my, okay, that's a bad hot air balloon. But we threw this up, and we want to know when it hits the water. After this, it's just a lot of calculations. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to plug in our numbers to the Pythagorean theorem. Sorry, quadratic formula. So I wrote a lot here, so the video wasn't so long, but feel free to pause. Hopefully you took some time to fill in. So here is the opposite of b, plus or minus b squared minus 4 times a times c, forgot my parentheses, all over 2 times a. And then I simplified. I did my negative 4 times negative 16 times 40 to get this, and then I added this together. So this is where I am at. This is where you need to know how to do the calculations, right? So I separate this into two different problems. So we have our negative 30 plus the square root of 256,900 all over negative 32. And then I also have where I am subtracting. So in your calculator, you would put negative 30 plus, and then that square root symbol with 256,900 underneath, and then hit that equal sign. Hit that equal sign, and then divide by negative 32, because order of operations has us do the division first, so it only divide this part. That's why you want to hit the equal sign, or put parentheses around it. For me, it's easier to hit the equal sign. And then do the same with the subtraction. It so happens when you do the addition one, you end up with a negative number because you have a positive on the top divided by a negative. So I ended up coming up with negative 14.90. And remember what that means. We're solving for t. This could have been a t for time, seconds. And I'll talk about if we can have negative time in just a minute. Here, for the second one though, right here, we ended up a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I ended up with 16.77 seconds. If you come up with something different, let's talk. I put into the calculator a couple times, so I think this is right. So going back to what that means though. So if we are in the hot air balloon and we throw our object up and it comes down, and think of what solutions mean to a quadratic. I should have made that black. But if we are graphing that, it's a parabola, and where it crosses that x-axis is our solution. So when it hits the water, that's like if we are graphing it, that would be our on the x-axis. So it would be a positive 16.7 seconds when it hits. But because we started up here, if we were going this way, get rid of that. If we were going this way, we would actually end up with a negative number of seconds. That doesn't make sense. So this is your only answer. This one does not work because we can't have negative seconds. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. You have a couple problems on today's assignment like this, and we can give you help if you need it.